Good evening. Welcome to the Cedar Falls Planning and Zoning Commission meeting for June 8th, 2022. Karen, if you will call the meeting to order and a roll call vote.
Chrisman? Here. Grebevich? Here. Hartley?
Here.
Holst?
Here.
Larson?
Here.
Leeper?
Here.
Lynch?
Here.
Moser?
Here.
Saul?
Here.
We have a full house tonight.
Full house. Nice to see that. All right. I would entertain a motion for approval of the minutes for the May 25th, 2022 meeting.
So moved. Second.
Moved and seconded. Any comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Now it's time for public comments. If you have, I see one person here, and I don't think they're for public comments. So we'll move on to new business. Our first item is rezoning of 2209 North Union Road with the former site of the Martyrs Retreat House. And Tom, I think you're going to take us through this one.
Thank you and good evening, Commissioners. This is a request by Sean and Paula Kelly to rezone approximately 9.94 acres from R1 residential to agriculture. For some reason, my voice didn't sound like it was coming through. The property, the Martyrs Retreat property, was established in the early 1960s before it was annexed into Cedar Falls. So when the property was annexed, it was given a zoning designation of R1 to accommodate existing private institutional uses such as the retreat property. In 2021, Mr. Kelly approached the city with the request to rezone Tract 2, which is shown in blue, to R1 to create a buildable lot for construction of a new home. However, it's not possible to rezone the property because city services are not out there, and that's a requirement to rezone to residential. So we worked with them to come up with a way that we'd be able to accommodate this, and there is a lot of record. They're doing an administrative process to do a plat of survey to get the property that they want into a buildable lot. We suggested then that they rezone the property, since there was the lot of record, to A1, which would allow one single residential use, and that wouldn't necessarily have to have the public sewer and water. And again, you can see on there the area that's on the map. It's a little difficult, but there's a small sliver that's in yellow that is zoned R2 that'll become part of the lot for the residential structure. So that's going to be zoned to the AG Ag. All of the section in the blue that's got the purple box around it is zoned R1, and that'll be rezoned to Ag. And then there's a portion right now where the Martyrs Retreat building is actually on the lot, or Tract 1, which is a separate parcel. They're doing the plat of survey to transfer the building onto the parcel with the rest of the property, and that's why you see that little area that's not being rezoned to agriculture but remaining R2. And in order for the R1 allows for some particular uses, conditional uses for buildings that were built for I can't think of the word right now, for recreation uses, schools, hospitals, those types of institutional uses that don't necessarily fit with the zoning district, but as a conditional use property, they could come in if they found a use for the property and go before the Board of Zoning Adjustments. So the current zoning, as I stated, is the R1 and it's A1, but it's split on the properties. So by changing the zoning or rezoning this, it's going to get rid of on the parcel what will be Tract 2, or the residential parcel. It'll get rid of split zoning on that property, and it'll also help with the Martyrs Retreat property. There are two requests, or two actual separate parcels. So there's about an acre of property at 2209 where the Martyrs Retreat is. It's going to be rezoned, and then the portion of about a little over 7 acres that's on Tract 2 that'll be rezoned. The Ag A1 district allows no more than one single unit or 2-unit residential dwellings with the following circumstances. One is it's incidental to a permitted agriculture use such as growing crops, grain, and limited agriculture or animal production with the 20-acre lot minimum. So this, when the new lot gets created, it'll meet the minimum requirement. And if it's, the residential is allowed on a lot of record as of August 1st, 1979. And the existing track, again, is considered a lot of record, so it would allow a single unit dwelling on the property. As far as compliance with the comprehensive plan, this area is shown as low-density residential. However, as part of getting low-density residential, any subdivision would again require public services. And at this point, staff feels the rezoning twos back to A1 is consistent with the comprehensive plan because at this time, the property is really not ready for development because of the utilities. And so it's appropriate to do that. The property doesn't have doesn't have any access to sewer and water. The other utilities would be available. So again, going back to the A1 district makes sense until time that those services would be available. Access to the street network at this time, because it'll be one lot residential, there's Union Road is currently the access point, and so there shouldn't be any issues with changing the zoning to agriculture because it's less busy. The staff mailed letters to the surrounding property owners notifying of the zoning request. There really were no technical comments. Again, they'll be doing a plat survey, which is an administrative process to move the lot lines around so they'll be able to build the one property. And as far as recommendations, staff recommends that comments from the Planning and Zoning Commission and the public be gathered and then set a date for a public hearing, most likely at your next Planning and Zoning Commission meeting on June 22nd. And I'll be happy to answer more questions. It's just kind of a interesting case.
It is. Thank you, Tom. We have no applicants, or would you like to speak to the item? Okay. All right, thank you. No one from the public, so I'll bring it back to the commission for discussion.
Kind of a unique situation, but it seems like a pretty logical solution to me to resolve that, give them the opportunity to build a house. So, yeah, I would recommend moving it forward to or make a motion to move it forward to the
Public hearing.
on the 22nd or whenever you decide.
I'd second that.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any other further discussion? What does it look like when we do have utilities out in this area and we'll have some residential development? What is that? It just gets rezoned at that point.
Yeah, there'd be an opportunity to rezone the property then to a residential. Since it's low density, it probably would be R1, maybe R2 in the future. The railroad tracks are a big issue too. I don't know if any of you have ever tried to deal with the railroad getting anything underneath, above, or along there. So, at some point there would need to be a lot of pressure to extend the utilities and infrastructure across the railroad.
Yeah, so start now and maybe a decade, we'll have something done. All right, we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All right, do we need to vote on the,
Just, you can just a voice vote, it's fine.
okay. All those in favor of moving it to the June 22nd public hearing?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign? All right, old business. We have a zoning text amendment for a review of certain site plans in the CDDT zone. And Karen, you're gonna lead us through this?
Yeah, of course, just a couple weeks ago, we talked about this, so I don't know if you have any more questions. I won't go through a lot of the details on this, but I have the slides from last time if you have studied the code language any further, and if you have any more questions or want to discuss something. But what's on the table for the public hearing is to change the zoning code to require new buildings in the urban general 2, and storefront frontages to be reviewed by the Planning and Zoning Commission, which would be a quasi-judicial review, and then you would make a recommendation to City Council, similar to a lot of other site plan type cases. So these are the areas for those zoning designations, that urban general 2, and storefront, kind of the yellow and orange and red areas. This is the new zoning map for downtown, so kind of where this would apply, and it would just apply to new buildings. So if somebody was just renovating a previous building, they wouldn't have, it would just be administrative, but if they were building a brand new building, then it would come before you. So that's the crux of the changes that were in the code. So, and I have the code language here if anybody has any questions. Happy to go through that, but staff recommends that the commission, open the public hearing, discuss, and make a recommendation to City Council on these proposed amendments.
All right. Anyone from the public that would like to speak to this item? All right, bring it back to the commission.
I just have a question. If there is a residence that is going to add a bunch of square footage, what is the process for that in this form-based code?
So I'm not aware of any, if it's a new building,
It would fall,
if they were building a new house, but I don't think in any of these areas you're probably going to get
Right.
a house built. These are, the downtown core.
right.
If they're just remodeling or putting addition on the building, that would also not come before the commission.
I thought substantial improvement was one of the triggers.
Well, we don't have that kind of language in here. It talks about just new buildings. So we made it very simple. We didn't try to create a really complicated substantial improvement definition.
Right. Well, I move to approve the zoning text amendment.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Further discussion?
So my impression is this really seems to address kind of the major concern that we kind of lost when we had the new code created, because now, seemed like the loss of kind of public input, but this is really kind of addresses, I think, all those public buildings or new structures. I think was probably the thing that was most concerning to people, so I think that seems to meet everybody's desires on having some public input.
Yeah, if there's people watching on TV, it's a balance between kind of setting the standards so people know what they are to simplify development in Cedar Falls, and also providing a check for some of those big significant projects that might exist.
And to add to that, it's kind of a temporary on-ramp, as I understand it, and we have a placeholder for a meeting in approximately a year to decide if we need to continue that level of review as a commission. Is that correct?
Yeah, we could certainly circle back, and we talked about that last time, about having a kind of a time period where we can see how everything's going and touch base again.
Yeah, again, for anyone watching, this is a fresh start to this section of code. We will amend it many times over the years as we find holes in it, and it's being tested every day, or certainly will be over the next few years. All right, any other comments? All right, roll call vote.
Chrisman,
Aye.
Gribovich,
Aye.
Hartley,
Aye.
Holst,
Aye.
Larson,
Aye.
Leeper,
Aye.
Lynch,
Aye.
Moser,
Aye.
Saul.
Aye.
All right, so that item will move on to council. Any commission updates?
I do not have any commission updates for you tonight.
All right, I would entertain a motion to adjourn then.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, have a good night, everyone. That was bold.
That was a record.